Conan Exiles is not about Conan the Barbarian. For those unfamiliar with the game, that might sound a bit strange. A game based in the Conan universe with Conan as its mascot isn't about everyone's favourite barbarian. No, in fact, Conan himself has a pretty small part in the story, and today we're going to talk about why. Conan himself exists in Conan Exiles, but in the grand scheme of things he's quite far down the pecking order in terms of character importance. Tothamon, Mechamosis, Petruso, the Warmaker, the Witch Queen, Rasma, the Kinscourge, all characters who are far more consequential to the plot and hold a bigger role in the game's narrative than Conan himself. Ultimately, Conan plays one key role in the game. It's vital that he does so, at least it is for us. Conan cuts the exile, the player character, down from the cross before wandering off across the desert. He had also presumably freed Rasma at some point either before or after that too, but beyond that, Conan fades into near obscurity during actual gameplay. In fact, he's very easily missed after that intro cutscene. Conan will spend the rest of his time at Waterside Tavern in Sepameru, where he drinks the pitiful wine and eats the weevil-infested bread. He followed the trail of Rasma of Shem, but managed to lose sight of her along the way. This is something the player can kind of help out with, but not in any meaningful way. You can help Rasma directly, but you'll never advance Conan's goals or really do anything for him. No matter what, Conan will just remain in the tavern, apart from that one time he wandered out and cut Mechamosis' head off. However, even that happened off screen. The Waterside Tavern isn't even a mandatory place to visit if you wanted to finish the game's main story quest, so you could easily go from a lowly exile to a king of the sands to a free man once again, without even laying eyes on Conan himself. Why exactly is that? Why is Conan almost irrelevant to the game outside of helping to set the early events in motion? Well, I think there are three core reasons. Firstly, Funcom took a few steps with Conan Exiles to avoid treading on the established Hyborian lore. The Exile Lands is not on any map, it's either in a far-flung uncharted place or may indeed be in a different plane of reality altogether. Additionally, Conan's presence here is mostly transitory. He's not been captured by a resurrected sorcerer, he's not the king of Aquilonia, he's not slaying iron-skinned demons on Zappa, and he's not battling the Picts beyond the Black River. He's basically just passing through, trying to find a woman, and will likely leave afterwards. Conan himself says he wants no part of the sorcery in these lands, and I believe that is a conscious design decision by the developers. By having this journey be a relatively minor one, a transitory phase as Conan travels from one place to another, it doesn't interfere with the established canon material by creating a new grand tale for Conan, nor by frustrating the timeline between any of those mainline stories. For all their faults, Funcom clearly care about taking the lore of Conan seriously, and by making his time in the Exile Lands a fairly mild affair for him, it doesn't force any big implications on Conan himself. The second reason why he is kind of irrelevant is, frankly, the world. Some worlds are defined by their characters, but others are defined more by the actual world itself. For a while I found myself intrigued by the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, but not so much what we already know. Sure, the Iron Throne and the looming threat of the White Walkers was cool, but I wanted to know more about what lay beyond. What lays beyond Westeros and Essos, what of Ashai by the Shadow, or what's west past the Sunset Sea. Whilst the TV show may have left a lot to be desired by the end, the novels still drum up a ton of debate, discussion, and investigation into the world at large, and the same is true of other properties like Lord of the Rings. The actual worlds of many fictions are just as compelling, if not more so than the characters themselves, and I think Conan kind of falls into that same niche. The world of Hyboria, the mysteries of the past, and even the way it intertwines with the works of Lovecraft and his mythos are the perfect breeding ground for exploration. It's helped massively by the fact that all of the cultures in the world of Conan the Barbarian are derivative of real-life cultures. The Yamatai, Aquilonian, the Picts, the Kitai, almost every single culture can be drawn to a current or past real-world parallel. That itself grounds the material and I think makes it quite compelling. Additionally, if you want to explore the world, Conan himself is probably not the best vehicle to do that with. Conan is ultimately a man of somewhere. He's a man of a place and time, Experiences from his perspective will, by necessity, be painted in the shades of his cultural outlook, the way he sees the world. The wonders of the black magic of Stygia or Acheron would be pretty much lost on him, given his disdain for sorcery. By Conan not being the main character in the story, or really a big factor in the world of Conan Exiles at large, the world itself can be explored through a much broader and more neutral lens. Lastly, and likely the most important reason why Conan is such a minor character in the game is because, to be honest, it's not about him, it's about you. Survival games are generally all about that blank slate experience. You're a prisoner, a castaway on an island of dinosaurs, the survivor of a zombie apocalypse, or just some guy named Steve. The rest is up to you. The path of Conan the Barbarian is set in stone, both before and after the exile lands. His adventures are well documented throughout the extensive canon works, but you are, quite simply, anyone, and are free to be exactly that. As I said earlier, Conan is someone from somewhere. You can be anyone from anywhere. You can dabble in the sorceries, establish your own kingdom, build community hubs, wage war against exiles, or desperately claw for freedom. In this story, you will always just be the exile, but the way you choose to play is your own. Ultimately, Conan Exiles is not about Conan the Barbarian. He's a great mascot for the game, and just by his name you know what to expect, a brutal tapestry of sword and sorcery painted in steel and blood. However, what Conan Exiles wants to communicate is something completely separate from its titular character. The game wants you to breathe in the culture of various places and times, it wants to keep all that canon lore intact, and it wants you to be able to have your own identity separate of the iconic barbarian. Conan wouldn't invest in the dark arts of sorcery, he wouldn't mine iron for days on end, and he wouldn't lounge around in a Yamatai bath in the middle of a frozen lake. The exile, however, can do anything he wants. Conan the Barbarian is a timeless character, but in Conan Exiles your character is a blank slate, a conduit through which to experience the broad and colourful world of Hyboria, to carve your own story within that classic sword and sorcery framework, without the constraints of what your character would do or how he would think. There is plenty of room for a game where you play as the titular barbarian, and that's an experience I think people would doubtless seek and enjoy. However, from the ground up, Conan Exiles wasn't aiming to be that. It aimed to deliver an experience that can be approached 100 different ways, through the lens of various lifestyles and cultures, from scholars and swordsmen to sorcerers and scoundrels. To that end, Conan Exiles is not about Conan the Barbarian, and to be honest, I think the game is better for it. Let me know what you think of my analysis in the comments below. It's always tickled me slightly how Conan the Barbarian is such a minor character in the game itself, but after some thinking, it makes sense. Much like many other fantasy properties, I think the idea of living within and experiencing the same world as the main characters can be just as attractive as the characters themselves, and I do believe that was mostly the reason why Conan is such a minor character after he frees you from the cross. Anyway, that will wrap us up for today. This topic has been in my head for a little while, so I hope you've enjoyed my breakdown of it. Thank you for watching, and of course a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. If you want to see videos early and support the channel directly, consider joining us over on Patreon, link it in the description and pinned comment. Take care, and I'll see you soon.